Alright, in this lesson we're going to continue looking at the coordinate plane, but this time we're going to look at the complete coordinate plane instead of just quadrant number 1. So, your goal for this lesson is I can plot and I can locate ordered pairs on a coordinate plane. I need you to remember that an ordered pair is x comma y, where x is the x coordinate and y is the y coordinate. They're separated by a comma and they're put into parentheses. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. As a quick review, we have 4 quadrants. Last time we talked about quadrant number 1. In quadrant 1, the x and the y are both positive because we're dealing with the positive part of the x-axis and then we're dealing with the positive part of the y-axis. Over here is quadrant number 2. We are going to look at quadrant number 2 today. The x in quadrant 2 is negative, but the y is positive because we're on the negative part of the x-axis. Remember, this is a continuation of the x, but we're still on the positive side of the y-axis. Down here is quadrant 3, which we're also going to talk about today. In quadrant 3, the x is negative and the y is negative. We're dealing with the negative part of the x-axis, but this time we're also dealing with the negative part of the y-axis down here. Last but not least, we have quadrant number 4, and you'll see that these are also written in Roman numerals. You need to get used to that and become familiar with what they signify. In quadrant number 4, the x is going to be positive and the y is going to be negative. We're back on the positive side of the x, but we're still on the negative side of the y. Alright, on the next screen, I'm going to be flipping back and forth between 2 screens, between this one where we're going to record our answers and between the graph. They both won't fit on one page, but you have them both in front of you. So we're going to be finding the points A, B, C, D, on and on and on, and we're going to be writing the ordered pairs. So we're going to go ahead and start with A. A is over here, and it's in quadrant number 1. So we're going to go, remember that we go left to right first, so the x is first and the y is second. Alright, so we're going to go across 9 and we're going to go up 3. So it's going to be parentheses 9 comma 3. Okay, we're going to look at B. B is also in quadrant 1. We're going to go across 6 and we're going to go up 7. So across 6, up 7. We're going to look for point C. Now C is actually on the axis. When you're on the axis, you are not in a specific quadrant. That's important to know. So we're not going to go across any, okay, because we're on the 0 line, but we are going to go up 5. So it's going to be 0, comma 5. Now we're going to look for point D. D is over here in quadrant number 2. And again, same rules apply. We're going to go across and then we're going to go up and down. So this time we're going across to negative 3 and up to positive 2. So it's going to be negative 3, comma 2. Alright, we're going to look for E. E is over here. Again, we're going to go across first and then up and down. So we're going to go across to negative 8 and we're going to go up to 6. So it's going to be negative 8, comma 6. Now let's look at point F. Point F is way out here, but it's still in quadrant 2 because it's not on any axis. And so we're going to go across 11, it looks like, because this is 10 and then 11. So negative 11 up 4. So we have negative 11 and then positive 4. Alright, now we're looking for point G. Point G is over here in quadrant number 3. So they're both numbers are going to be negative in quadrant 3. So we're going to go across to negative 9, down to negative 6. So we have negative 9, negative 6. Alright, let's look at point H. Where's H? Here's H, also in quadrant 3. So we're going to go left, negative 5, down, negative 3. So -5, -3. All right, let's look at I. Here's I over here. So we're going to go just left to -1 and down to -2. -1, -2. Remember, when they're both negative, quadrant number 3. All right, I, J. Here's J. Now, J is not in a quadrant because J is on top of an axis, just like C is not in a quadrant. It's on top of an axis. So J, it looks like we're going to go to the right 2, and we're not going to go up and down any. So it's going to be 2, 0. Okay? 2 more. So here's K over here. K is in quadrant 4. So we're going to go to the right 3, down 3. So 3, -3. And then we're going to look for L. And L is also in quadrant 4. It looks like we're going to go to the right 1, but down to -6. 1, -6. Now, I want to do something real quick. I don't want you to look at the graph, so cover up the graph. Here are our points. Next to each point, I want us to write what quadrant or axis they're in by just looking at the points. So here, they're both positive, which means it's going to be quadrant number 1. Over here, they're both positive again, quadrant number 1. Now here they're both positive, but I see that 0, which means that it's on an axis. So it goes left to right 0 and up 5, which means it's on the y axis. Okay, now here my x is negative and my y is positive, and that means it's going to be quadrant number 2. Same thing here, -x, +y, quadrant number 2. Same thing here, -x, +y, quadrant number 2. Over here I have a -x and a -y, and that's going to be quadrant number 3. Over here I have a -x and -y, and that again is quadrant number 3. -x, -y, quadrant number 3. Over here I have 2 positives, but one of them is a 0, which means it's going to be on an axis. So this is telling me that I went to the right 2 spots, but I did not go up or down any, so I am still sitting on the x-axis. Here I have a positive x and a -y. That's going to be quadrant number 4. And same thing here, a positive x and a -y, quadrant number 4. Okay? All right, now I'm going to give you the point, and I want you to give me the 2 steps that you need in order to get there. This is a lot easier than it seems. So I'm going to draw a really rough coordinate plane here, just so that you can kind of visualize it. Okay? So remember that we always start at the origin, no matter what, and I'm trying to find point 4, 1. So I'm going to go to the right 4, and I'm going to go up 1. And all I'm going to write is right 4, up 1. Now -5, +9. I'm going to go to the left 5, but I'm going to go up 9. So left 5, because this is the negative part of the x-axis, and then up 9. Okay? Here I have -2, -3, so that would be left 2, down 3, because this is the negative part of the y-axis. So left 2, down 3. Here I have 6, -7, so that's going to be right 6, but down 7. Right 6, down 7. Now here I have 10, 0. So I know I'm going to be on an axis and not a quadrant. So I'm going to go to the right 10 and I'm not going to go up or down, and so we write stay. So I'm going to write right 10 and stay. Now here we have 0, -8. Again, I have a 0, so I know I'm going to be on an axis of some kind. Start at my origin. I'm not going to go left to right any, but I'm going to go down 8. So originally, I'm going to stay, and then I'm going to go down 8. Just like that. And again, this is just to help you navigate through the coordinate plane. All right, now we just did an example of this a couple slides ago, and I wanted to kind of preview it for you so it would be easier for you. But what you need to do is look at each point and tell me what quadrant it's in or what axis it's on. Remember, if it has a 0, it's on an axis. All right, so we have -1, 5. My x is negative, and my y is positive. So over here, I'm going to draw a very rough coordinate plane. And just to remind you, this is positive, this is negative, this is positive, and this is negative. So if I'm going to go negative, positive, I'm going to be over here in quadrant number 2. Now I have a positive x and I have a positive y, but I have a 0, which means I'm on an axis. So I'm going to go to the right 4, and I'm going to stay. What axis is this? The x-axis. Okay? Here I have a positive x, positive y. So I'm going to go to the right, and then I'm going to go up, and that's going to put me in quadrant number 1. Here I have a negative x and a negative y. I'm going to go to the left and down. That's going to put me in quadrant number 3. Here I have a 0 as an x and a y, a positive y, so I know I'm going to be on an axis. So if I start at my origin, I'm going to stay, and then I'm going to go up 3, and that's going to put me on the y-axis. Here I have a positive x and I have a negative y, and so I'm going to go to the right and I'm going to go down, which is going to put me in quadrant number 4. All right, that is the end of the second coordinate plane lesson. You should now be able to navigate through all 4 quadrants. Let me know if you have questions.